Welcome back to Gilded Fuel Wars. We've seen the Warriner family navigate the smoky battle between wood and coal for heat and the simmering tensions over newfangled gas ranges in the kitchen. Today, we turn our gaze upwards to the very light they live by. By the end of the 19th century, a dazzling, potentially dangerous new contender had entered the arena. Gaslight, the established champion of urban illumination, suddenly faced an ambitious, almost alien rival, electric light. Both promised convenience. Both claimed safety. Both draped themselves in the mantle of progress. And both sought to fundamentally redefine what it meant to live and shine in modern America. This looming battle wasn't just about lumens or cost per hour. It was about trust, about infrastructure, about corporate power, political maneuvering, and deeply ingrained fears of the unknown. It was about identity, class, and the very definition of modernity. And deep within the American home, light itself became the newest, brightest frontier in the ongoing fight for fuel. So grab your matches, or maybe flip that switch, as we explore the electrifying battle between gaslight and electric dreams. The year is roughly 1889. Change continues its slow creep into the Warriner household, following their tentative adoption of a gas plate in the kitchen for summer cooking. They've now extended the pipes, adding 2 simple glass sconces to the dining room wall. It's still an experiment, a cautious step towards the convenience their neighbors increasingly boast about, but a step nonetheless.
Very fine indeed, Mrs. Warriner. A warm welcome. The Gaslight suits your home admirably.
Well, it's certainly an improvement over candle smoke collecting on the ceiling, Mr. DeWitt. Though I confess I still don't quite care for the constant hiss.
Their guest tonight, Samuel DeWitt, represents a different world entirely. He's a junior engineer working at the city's new electric generating station, a place of roaring dynamos, copper wire, and ambitious promises. He brings with him not just an appetite, but stories from the front lines of the lighting revolution.
We've managed to light 3 more blocks downtown this past week. They're using the new brush arc lamps for the main thoroughfares, bright as midday, truly, even at midnight. Quite a marvel.
Is it true what they say? And the big arc lamps hum, buzz like bees?
Louder than a church choir rehearsal some nights, especially when they first strike the arc, but the light, unlike anything you've ever witnessed, sharp, white, cuts right through the fog.
And safe? There's no gas to leak, certainly, but isn't all that wiring strung overhead? Isn't it dangerous? We read stories.
Safer than many folks believe, Mrs. Warriner, especially Mr. Edison's incandescent system for homes. It runs at a much lower voltage than the arc lamps. Properly installed and grounded, the risk is minimal. Far less chance of fire than an overturned oil lamp or a faulty gas fibbing, I assure you.
Margaret isn't wrong to ask. In these early years of electrification, confusion and fear ran rampant. Was electricity a form of fire? A mysterious fluid? Could it leap invisibly from a wire through the wallpaper to harm a sleeping child? The often sensationalist press coverage didn't help matters, frequently highlighting accidents while downplaying the known dangers of gas.
I should think I'd like to read in the evenings without the whole room smelling like burnt matches and gas fumes.
Around the Warriner dinner table, the future of light is debated. To Caroline, the teenager, electricity represents novelty, cleanliness, perhaps even sophistication. To Margaret, the cautious homemaker, it represents another unknown risk, another potential disruption. To Henry, the pragmatic provider, it's primarily a question of cost and reliability. And to Samuel, the young engineer, it's the inevitable, triumphant march of progress. The American home, once lit solely by flame, was now presented with options, a choice between the familiar glow and the electric gleam. But brightness alone wouldn't win this war. Deeply ingrained habits, anxieties about safety, the hard realities of cost, and simple human resistance to change still held powerful sway. And in countless homes like the Warriners, those choices were far from simple and far from settled. It had begun years earlier, fueled by relentless ambition and the dazzling showmanship of the age. In 1879, from his legendary laboratory at Menlo Park, New Jersey, Thomas Alva Edison promised a world reborn in light. Not the flickering, consuming flame of oil or gas, but something entirely new. Clean, cool, predictable, controllable, silent. Electricity. His Pearl Street Station, opened in Lower Manhattan in September of 1882, became the symbolic beacon. The first commercial central power station in the United States. It initially electrified just 1 square mile, serving mostly businesses and wealthy residents. But Pearl Street delivered far more than just light. It delivered a powerful narrative. The electric future, clean and controlled, had arrived. This was a carefully managed public relations campaign. Edison and his backers, financed by powerful figures like J.P. Morgan, didn't just market electric light as useful, they framed it as moral. It was presented as a symbol of order, progress, temperance, unlike gaslit saloons, cleanliness, and American ingenuity triumphing over older, dirtier European technologies like gas. But the electric future needed wiring, miles upon miles of it. And wiring cities required digging up streets, erecting poles, securing rights of way, all of which needed political permission. Edison's backers and soon his competitors found themselves battling not just technological hurdles, but entrenched gas monopolies, skeptical city councils, and messy municipal politics. In the Gilded Age, political influence often powered as much current as coal-fired dynamos. And yet, as the wires spread, so did belief in the electric dream. What began as a novelty for the rich, slowly, painstakingly, started to become a possibility for the urban middle class. Block by block, neighborhood by neighborhood, the grid grew, powered by massive, noisy, coal-hungry generating stations. But belief had its limits. Grounded in daily reality, power outages were frequent. Early incandescent bulbs were expensive and burned out quickly. Wiring installations were often crude and visibly intrusive. And many people still wondered, was this tame lightning truly safe inside their homes, or was it just a new, unpredictable kind of fire hazard waiting to happen?
They say that current can spark right through the wallpaper if the insulation gets damp. Mark my words.
In parlor conversations, newspaper editorials, and heated city council debates, Americans weighed the dazzling wonder of electric light against its costs and perceived risks. They balanced the promise of progress against the comfort of familiarity. Edison may have wired the future, but the American public still had to decide, individually and collectively, whether and when to flip the switch. Electrification didn't happen all at once. It advanced slowly, unevenly, block by block, lamp by lamp. At first, the bright glare of electric arc lights illuminated only public squares and major commercial streets. Then came the grand department stores, banks, theaters, hotels, places eager to showcase their modernity and attract customers with the novelty of electric illumination. Electric light arrived first where it could make a statement, where it could impress. It was spectacle, status, a symbol of being on the cutting edge. For the wealthiest households, installing electricity became a fashionable upgrade, even if the service was initially unreliable and expensive. It wasn't just about practicality yet, it was about prestige. But building the infrastructure for this new power source was a monumental, messy, and often dangerous undertaking. Unlike gas, which flowed mostly unseen through buried pipes laid decades earlier, electricity required a vast, visible network. Generating stations had to be built, transformers installed, and thousands of miles of copper wire had to be strung, often haphazardly, on towering poles overhead, crisscrossing cities like a chaotic web. These overhead wires brought immediate questions and conflicts. Whose property did they cross? Who was liable if they fell in a storm? Were they safe? Reports of linemen electrocuted, of fires sparked by short circuits or crossed wires, fueled public anxiety and provided ammunition for the established gas companies fighting to protect their turf.
It's an unsightly menace, a tangle of spaghetti hanging over every rooftop, every street from here to the docks, a danger to a man and beast.
And yet the complaints about gas explosions and suffocations are louder still. The people want progress. They want light they can trust not to poison them in their sleep, even if it crackles a bit.
Adding to the chaos was the infamous War of the Currents. Not just gas versus electric, but competing electrical systems battling for dominance. Primarily Edison's direct current, or DC, versus George Westinghouse's alternating current, or AC, championed by Nikola Tesla. Each system had different strengths, weaknesses, voltage standards, and required proprietary equipment, of course. Different plugs, different fixtures, different meters. It wasn't one unified grid emerging, it was dozens of incompatible systems jostling for position, creating confusion for consumers and further complicating the rollout.
Hey there, today's episode of Arclamp History is brought to you by Arclamp History. That's right. Before we continue on with today's episode, a quick word about the Patreon. If you're enjoying what we do here and you'd like to help me keep making these episodes, you can directly support the channel for just $3 a month. That's right, for the price of less than a cup of coffee per month, Patreon members get early access to new Arclamp History episodes before they arrive right here on YouTube. And those early releases are, of course, ad-free. I also share behind-the-scenes production logs, research, and updates as these stories come together so you can see a little more of what goes into building an episode before the finished version ever reaches the screen. Members also get a choice in what I research next, helping shape future topics and directions for the channel. And as the community grows, I'll be adding patron-only live streams where we can dig into old newspapers, books, catalogs, advertisements, and other original historical material together. Most importantly, though, the Patreon patrons directly support the research, archival material, production tools, and time required to make Arclamp History. So if that sounds like something you'd enjoy, you can join me over at patreon.com/ArclampHistory. Thank you for helping me keep digging into the past. Now, back to today's episode.
Meanwhile, back in the Warriner home, the electric future arrives not with a bang, but with a salesman.
Absolutely no soot, Mr. Warriner. No matches needed, no mantles to replace, no risk of leaks. Perfectly safe for children and pets. Cheaper fuel costs in the long run. We guarantee it. And frankly, sir, guaranteed to impress your neighbors. Make your home a beacon of modernity on this plaque.
And if the wiring itself catches fire inside the wall?
Highly unlikely, ma'am. That's why we use only the best porcelain insulating caps and properly grounded cables, all installed by our certified technicians. Meets all city ordinances. Ma'am, your home is already halfway modern with the Gaslight. Electricity is simply the logical final touch.
The pitch emphasizing cleanliness, safety, compared to gas. Modernity, and perhaps even status, was often irresistible, especially when coupled with promotional pricing or subsidized installations offered by companies desperate to gain a foothold. But the process of wiring an existing home? Anything but invisible. In this new age of illumination, light was not just utility, it was spectacle, status, and sophisticated salesmanship. It glowed, it buzzed, it promised a bright, clean future. If you could afford the installation, navigate the competing systems and learn to trust the invisible current humming behind your walls. Electricity may have sparked the public's imagination, but it also sparked intense fear. And the established gas industry, powerful, wealthy, and deeply entrenched, was more than happy to fan those flames of anxiety. They had spent decades and fortunes laying millions of miles of pipe beneath the streets of every major American city. They controlled a vast infrastructure, enjoyed lucrative municipal contracts, and held near monopolies on domestic lighting. They weren't about to surrender their dominance to a chaotic jungle of overhead wires and the upstart electric men without a fight. The gas companies launched a multi-pronged counterattack. Public relations was key. They flooded newspapers and magazines with advertisements and opinion pieces emphasizing the dangers, unreliability, and hidden costs of electricity.
They're calling it death current and shock light now, honestly.
Yeah, everything's a danger if you shout about it loud enough, Maggie.
Simultaneously, the gas industry invested in improving its own technology to compete directly with electric light's appeal. The invention and refinement of the Welsbach incandescent gas mantle in the late 1880s and early 1890s was a major breakthrough. These chemically coated mesh mantles, when heated by a gas flame, glowed far brighter and whiter than an open flame, significantly increasing efficiency and light quality. Gas companies also promoted faster startup fixtures and often strategically dropped their rates in neighborhoods where electric competition was emerging. Cleaner than coal, safer than sparks became the implicit message. No unpredictable outages during storms, they promised, highlighting a genuine weakness of early overhead electrical systems. Warm light, not harsh glare, they argued, appealing to traditional aesthetics.
Friends, neighbors, with reliable city gas, your light never fails you. No irritating buzz from the fixtures, no sudden blackouts plunging your home into darkness during summer storms, no invisible fire crawling through your walls. Choose the proven path, the safe path.
And there was some truth underpinning the spin. Early electric service was often chaotic, generating stations were prone to breakdowns, overhead wires were vulnerable to weather, standards were non-existent, leading to incompatible systems and frequent equipment failures. The gas industry skillfully exploited these very real growing pains. Beyond public persuasion and technological improvement, the gas giants wielded their considerable political and economic clout. They lobbied city councils intensely to deny or delay granting franchises to electric companies. They funded legal challenges against overhead wire installations. In some notorious cases, bribery scandals erupted as gas and electric interests battled fiercely for exclusive municipal contracts and favorable regulations.
This isn't just about light, gentlemen. It's about public safety and corporate trust. The gas companies have served this city reliably for decades. These electric speculators haven't delivered anything but promises, dangers, and a hideous web of wires.
The fight was dirty, expensive, and played out block by block.
Because she's afraid to or can't afford to. Or maybe she just doesn't trust either of you.
In the escalating war between sparks and flames, every flicker of light became part of a larger campaign. Every dinner party conversation might turn into a debate. Every city block represented a contested battleground, and while the giant utility companies fought their battles in courtrooms and council halls, the people who mattered most, families like the Warriners, were still trying to decide, room by room, wire by wire, how they wanted to see the night. Eventually, the relentless march of the electric grid reached the Warriners' block. In the late spring of, say, 1892, a new electric company, eager to sign up customers and challenge the gas monopoly, offered aggressive promotional hookups in select middle-class neighborhoods. First fixture installed free. Basic wiring included. Half-priced electricity for the first 6 months. Tempted by the offer and perhaps nudged by Caroline's enthusiasm and his own observations, Henry Warriner finally signed the dotted line.
Wires will run right along the picture molding here, nice and tidy, then we'll drop them behind the wall over by the door if you want later for a bit extra. Might buzz just a little when the bulb's on, especially at first. That's normal with the new filaments.
And the meter? Where does that go?
Usually out front by the service entry or sometimes in the cellar if you've got one. You'll see the little dial spin when the current's flowing, and don't you worry none if there's a short or an overload. You know, this new fuse box here is designed to trip itself, safer than houses.
Can we watch him turn it on, Ma? Please?
You can watch from the doorway, so long as you don't breathe too close to the wires.
Oh, if like daylight, but inside.
No hiss, no smell, no soot.
For one evening, perhaps, the Warriners experienced the electric future as promised. No matches needed to light the parlor, no trimming wicks or cleaning globes, no faint smell of gas lingering in the air, just instant, steady, relatively bright light at the flick of a switch.
It's going out. The light went out.
Fuse must have blown. Or maybe the line's down from the storm. Drat. Get the gas mantle lit, Maggie. We'll switch back to reliable for now.
So much for the everlasting future.
Electricity held immense promise, but early systems lacked perfection, especially compared to the decades-old established reliability of the gas network. Outages were common, equipment failed, and for families like the Warriners, living on tight budgets and valuing predictability, reliability often trumped novelty. So, like many middle-class households navigating this transition, they kept both systems. Gas for dependable, everyday illumination, especially in crucial areas like the kitchen or bedrooms. Electric, perhaps, for the parlor, a symbol of modernity to show guests. A brighter light for reading when it worked, a nod towards the future. One light source for utility, the other for pride. One for the familiar past, one for a flickering hope. The Warriners' hybrid home was not an oddity. It was a miniature version of the entire country. Across America, especially in the fast-growing cities, electricity did not arrive like a sunrise, evenly touching every rooftop at once. It arrived more like a spotlight. Bright here, absent there, brilliant in one window, missing from the next. And that mattered, because light was becoming visible proof of access. Who had money? Who had influence? Who lived on a profitable street? Who lived close enough to the generating station? Who could afford the installation, the fixtures, the bulbs, the monthly bill, and the risk of trusting a system that still felt experimental? The electric age did not erase the old divisions. In many places, it made them easier to see after dark. Homes, neighborhoods, and entire cities began straddling 2 centuries at once. One foot in the age of flame, the other testing the age of current. In the affluent districts, the homes of bankers, industrialists, merchants, and professionals, electric wiring spread more quickly through the 1880s and 1890s. Here, electricity was not merely practical, it was social theater. A bright electric chandelier in the drawing room told guests that the household was modern, solvent, informed, and brave enough to welcome the future through its walls. The quiet click of a brass switch became a small performance of confidence. For the wealthy, electric light could be framed as taste, progress, safety, even refinement. It whitened the room, sharpened the wallpaper, brightened the silver, and made the old gas fixtures look suddenly antique. The future in these rooms did not arrive humbly. It arrived dressed for dinner. But just blocks away, in densely packed immigrant neighborhoods and working-class tenements, the picture was different. Gaslight might still be the standard, assuming the building had reliable gas services at all. Kerosene lamps and candles remained common. In some overcrowded buildings, several families might depend on one working gas fixture in a shared hallway or common room. Here, artificial light was not an elegant symbol of progress, it was a fragile necessity. A mother lighting a smoky kerosene lamp in a dark stairwell was not participating in the electric future. She was simply trying to keep the night from swallowing the next few steps. And that contrast is essential. The Gilded Age is famous for dazzling invention, but invention did not reach everyone at the same speed. The glow of progress often stopped where profit stopped. Electrification did not just illuminate homes, it mapped inequality. Utility companies were businesses first. They naturally targeted areas where the return looked strongest. Commercial districts, theaters, hotels, department stores, factories, wealthy residential blocks, places with concentrated demand and customers who could pay. Poorer neighborhoods were often seen as expensive to wire and less profitable to serve. If the lines had to stretch farther, if the buildings were older, if the residents rented instead of owned, if the expected revenue looked thin, the electric future could wait. And so the map of electric light became a map of investment. Not where people needed light most, not where old lamps were most dangerous, not where children had the hardest time reading after dark, but where copper wire could most quickly become revenue. That is one of the sharpest truths of this transition. The technology was new, but the priorities behind it were very old. And if the divide within cities was stark, the divide between urban and rural America was enormous. While city families debated gas versus electricity, vast stretches of rural America remained beyond both systems. No city gas pipelines, no electric wires, no glowing shop windows down the block promising the next marvel. For farm families and rural households, kerosene remained the dependable light of daily life well into the 20th century. The lamp on the table, the lantern in the barn, the careful trimming of wicks, the smell of fuel, the daily management of flame. These remained ordinary parts of life long after urban showrooms began displaying electric wonders. In town, electricity could feel like the coming standard. In the countryside, it could still feel like a rumor. That is the mistake we often make when looking backwards. We compress history. We imagine one age replacing another cleanly. But the electric light revolution did not sweep across America in one motion. It advanced in patches, contracts, neighborhoods, franchises, and favors. It followed money, density, politics, and infrastructure. The future had a service area. Back on the Warriner's block, the unevenness would have been obvious in the most ordinary conversations. A neighbor might notice that Henry's house had electric light in the parlor, but not throughout the home. Another might wonder why more families had not signed up. The answer was never just one thing. Some were waiting for prices to fall. Some trusted gas more. Some feared faulty wiring. Some rented homes and had no authority to alter the walls. Some liked the idea of electric light in public, but not yet near their children's beds. And many were simply practical. A parlor bulb was impressive. A hallway light was useful, but gas still worked in the kitchen. A kerosene lamp could still be carried upstairs. Candles still sat in drawers. Old systems did not disappear because a new one arrived. They stayed because they had already proven themselves. Meanwhile, above the streets and inside city halls, the competition kept raging. Municipal street lighting contracts turned whole neighborhoods into battleground. Gas companies defended their existing networks. Electric companies promised brilliance, safety, cleanliness, and status, and both sides offered deals. Both sides courted officials. Both sides understood that whoever controlled the night could control the future of urban energy. Sometimes companies laid wire or pipe at a loss just to win a block and keep a rival out. Sometimes public safety arguments were sincere, but sometimes they were marketing with a better hat. A street lamp was not just a street lamp. It was a claim. A glowing block could raise a neighborhood's reputation. A dark block could make residents feel forgotten. A city council vote could decide whether one district became modern while another stayed in the amber haze of older fuels. Light had become civic identity, corporate strategy, and neighborhood pride all at once. For younger people like Caroline, watching electricians wire a neighbor's house would have carried the thrill of arrival. Another house joining the current. Another family stepping into the gleam. Another sign that the future was no longer just downtown, no longer just in theaters and hotels and rich brownstones, but here on their own street. But inside the older rhythms of the household, the reaction could be quieter, more measured, because the people who managed homes knew something salesmen often ignored. Every new convenience came with upkeep. Every promise had a bill. Every system that entered the house brought its own vocabulary of failures. Gas could leak, lamps could smoke, wires could short, bulbs could burn out, meters could spin faster than expected. Progress did not eliminate worry, it changed its shape. And that is why the cautious response matters. The wonder was real, the hesitation was also real. A homeowner could admire electric light and still mistrust the wiring. A mother could appreciate a brighter hallway and still prefer gas in the kitchen. A family could want modernity without wanting to become the test case for every new invention that knocked at the door. The Gilded Age city was full of that tension. Illumination was far more than seeing in the dark. It became a visible marker of arrival, advancement, and connection to the modern world. It was also a marker of division, by income, by geography, by ownership, by access to capital, by tolerance for risk, by proximity to the grid. After sunset, the city revealed its hidden structure. The rich districts glowed, the commercial blocks blazed, the middle-class streets flickered between old and new. The poorer edges remained dim. The night told the truth. The night no longer fell evenly across the American landscape. It receded unevenly, block by block, house by house, light by flickering light. And for all the grand claims made by inventors, utility men, gas company, electrical promoters, and city boosters, the real story of illumination was not only about who invented the bulb. It was about who got connected. It was about who could afford to trust the future. It was about who remained in the dark while others learned to live beneath a new kind of shine. By the end of the decade, the Warriners, like so many American families, lived in a home lit by compromise. They had wired 2 rooms for electricity. The parlor, perhaps because that was the room guests saw first, and the room where status mattered, the room where a bright electric bulb could announce that the Warriners had not been left behind. And the upstairs hallway, perhaps because a steady light on the stairs felt safer than stumbling through darkness with a match, a candle, or a smoking lamp. But in the kitchens, the bedrooms, and the practical rooms of daily life, the familiar hiss and glow of gas still ruled. That balance tells us almost everything. Electricity entered first where it could impress, then where it could protect, and only slowly where it had to prove itself useful every day. This hybrid reality became normal for decades in many places. Not a clean break from old to new, but a layered household built from overlapping systems. A brass electric switch mounted near an old gas key, a ceiling fixture designed for both a burner and a bulb. A family that could move from the white glare of electric light to the warm amber of gas without leaving the same room. The home did not simply modernize, it accumulated. It kept the old while testing the new. It wore its uncertainty in metal fittings, wall scars, service lines, and monthly bills. One foot planted in tomorrow, the other still anchored in habit, cost, and the comfort of what already worked. Electric light did not conquer the night overnight. It crept in, fixture by fixture, room by room. For a child reading beneath a brighter bulb, it could feel like liberation. Pages sharpened, shadows pulled back, evenings stretched a little longer. For someone darning socks beside a softer gas flame, the older light could still feel human, manageable, familiar. Not perfect, not clean, not entirely safe, but known. And that coexistence is the real story. The American home did not leap from flame to filament. It negotiated. It made room. It compared. It worried. It adopted, retreated, and adopted again. For millions of families, electricity did not replace the past during this era. It moved in beside it, creating homes illuminated by two different centuries at once. On the national map, those glowing lines spread outward slowly from major cities: New York, Chicago, Boston, Philadelphia, Pittsburgh, St. Louis, places with density, capital, industry, and ambition. But beyond them, darkness remained vast. Not symbolic darkness, actual, practical darkness. Farmhouses still lit by kerosene, small towns waiting for service, rural roads where no utility company saw enough customers to justify the cost. Families whose relationship with light still depended on fuel cans, wicks, matches, and caution. The bright glow of the Gilded Age was profoundly uneven. Dazzling in some corners, comfortably familiar in others, dim, delayed, or entirely absent across huge portions of the nation. The revolution in light brought progress, convenience, pride, and new dangers, often inside the same four walls. For the Warriners, and for America, light had become something more than utility. It was identity. It reflected choices made, risks taken, risks avoided, bills paid, fears swallowed, habits defended, and hopes projected onto glass bulbs and brass fixtures. A light source could reveal what a family valued: reliability, safety, status, cleanliness, cost, control, continuity, and sometimes it revealed what they still feared. The hiss of gas was dangerous but familiar. The hum of electricity was cleaner but mysterious. The flame could poison, the wire could shock. The old ways were dirty and the new ways were not yet fully trusted. Progress in the Warriner home did not look like certainty. It looked like a hallway bulb flickering once, then steadying. And so, their home, like the nation itself, stood divided. One window glowing harsh white with the promise of electricity, another glowing warm amber with the persistence of gas. Other windows dark, waiting their turn. This was not failure, it was the transition. The American home was learning to live between systems, between sales pitches, between fears, and between centuries. Caught between the hiss and the hum, between the shadow and the shine. Next time on Gilded Fuel Wars, light gives way to central heat. As America electrifies its parlors and kitchens, another quieter revolution rises from below. Pipes gurgle, boilers roar, radiators hiss. For the first time, warmth begins moving through the house like blood through a body, promising comfort not from one stove, one hearth, or one room, but from a hidden system built into the structure itself. But who controls this invisible heat? What happens when comfort depends on a machine in the basement? And what happens when that machine fails? Join the Warriners as they step into a new kind of comfort and a new kind of conflict in Episode 4, The Whole House Revolution. Hey, thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you tuning in to Episode 3. It's been a long time coming, but a lot of life things in the way. Feel free to check out the Patreon as well. Arclamp History has a Patreon page there. You can support us for as little as whatever the littlest one is, I think. So check it out, patreon.com. And I look forward to making more of these and getting into Episode 4 with y'all. Until then, thanks for coming by.